All right, so how about this one? The TV watching students. You guys don't watch any TV, right?
No, we're doing math homework.
Of course, math homework all the time. Yes, well said.
Slaving away at the computer.
Top priority.
Oh, you want me to?
How should I do?
Okay,
Oh,
so
I thought
is
you-
over of equals percent over 100.
All right, so we're going to try this one using is over of, right? Okay.
I always take the little, like, the end part that says round to the nearest hundredth of a percent. I'm like, okay, we're looking for a percent here.
All right, so what do I fill in
So
where?
don't, like, switch it up on us.
So of is 7,500.
Of is 7,500.
South of is the 2,300.
Is the 2,300.
Oops. We're looking for percent and then over 100.
Awesome. So when we solve this, what do we do? Cross, multiply, and divide. So what am I multiplying?
2,300 times 100.
2,300 times 100.
Divided by 7,500.
Divide by the 7,500.
Equals 30.666 repeating. Yes, 100%.
So since we used is over of, this is coming back in percent form. So all we have to do is round this percentage to hundredths. What do we round it to? 30.67%. And what's the label I write on this? Ooh, what's the label? 30.67% do
Do
what?
not watch more than 1 hour.
Wait. Read the problem again then. What does the 2,300 represent?
That they watch more than 1 hour.
Uh-huh. So what does this 30.67 represent?
Oh,
The
crap.
percent of students who watch more than one.
This is the percent of people that watch 1+ hours of TV. What did I ask for?
Do not.
Do not watch 1+ hours of TV. So what are you going to do? Okay, good. And this is why I ask you guys to label these things, so that you get the fact that you got the opposite of what I really asked for, right? I mean, normally, would you have to label this? No, you could just sort of leave it as a percent and you can move along. But if you do label it, then when you go back to the question and see, did I answer the question? You'll go, oh crap, I answered the other side, right? So when you do 100 minus this, what do you get?
69. Can't you take 7,500, subtract
Yep.
2,300, and then just find a percent of that?
Yes, absolutely. You can do the subtraction here, or you can do the subtraction here. Either
Okay.
way, right? So if you did the 7,500 minus the 2,300 and found out that 5,200 people do not watch 1+ hours of TV, and figured out what that was as a percentage, it will work out to be exactly 69.33%. And either of those ways is perfectly fine. You just have to be careful, and this is very classic for math people to do, where I give you one side of it and ask for the other. Okay? That's just classic, folks. Okay? So watch for that. All right? All right. And I apologize for all of these being crammed together, but I had to make it fit on one page, so you guys don't get any spare space. Sorry. I'm going to give myself the spare space so that I can work on them. But note, yeah, you guys don't have it. Sorry. All right. Oops, almost there. Okay, so oops. Compaq Computers advertises $1,800. This is 18% less than the original price. What was the original price?
X or 1,800 over X, and 18% over 100.
So, one of the things that you guys have to be a little bit careful of is reading the questions carefully. What's the word that follows the percent sign?
Yes.
What kind of a problem is it when you see the phrase 18% less? Yeah, This means this is not a portion equals base times rate or an is over of equals percent over 100 problem. Okay, folks? So just be careful. This is why I want you guys to try and read these problems critically to start with, so that you can see this sort of thing. This is a percent decrease. Now, how do we do percent decreases, folks?
Isn't new equals old minus the rate times the old?
Yeah.
Look at that.
And I'm assuming that you will have this kind of crap written down on your note card so that you will remember it.
How big can our note card be?
3 by 5 inch,
Both sides.
both sides.
You never see the huge ones. That's why I clarified.
Now, again, note there are 3 things in this particular equation, right? I will always give you 2 of them. So which 2 did I give you? I gave you new and rate, right? What do we have to do with 18% in order to make it a rate? Yeah, make it its decimal. So again, just be a little careful. Whenever you see the word rate, think decimal instead of percent. And then technically what's old, folks? Yeah. Didn't give myself enough room.
I'm surprised when you write on that, it doesn't change it to like text.
Nope, there purposely doesn't do that because I ask it not to.
Oh, really? So it does do that.
Yeah. Oops. It can, but it's
You know how like the new Samsung apps, you can like
right.
write in there, like,
It would have a hard time translating my chicken scratch. Not neat enough. So. All right. So what am I trying to solve then, folks?
1,800
equals X.
X minus 0.18 times 18. Times X.
Times X, exactly. And technically, what's the number in front of that X that doesn't have a number? 1. So what are you going to do with the 1x and the minus 0.18x?
Minus the 1.
And what do you get when you do that? You got a calculator, that's what it's there for, right? Right, 1 minus 0.18
0.82.
x is equal to 0.82.
Divided by the 0.82.
Divide by the 0.82.
I'm still writing just a minute. $2,195.12.
12 cents. Please round appropriately to the nearest penny because it's money. Okay? And so note, the way we got to a bigger number, right? We're reading this problem, and our brain is going to tell us, oh, this is a discounted price, therefore I need to find a larger number. And if you're trying to do the test too fast, you will immediately start saying, oh, I need to add something to get larger. No, right? Here's the other way that you get a larger number. Dividing by a value that's less than 1. Okay? Does the same thing. And we'll solve these correctly as opposed to incorrectly. Right?
Go.
Alright? folks, there will definitely be one like these on the test, I can guarantee you, okay?
It seems so much like easier when like it's obvious when we go over it in class and then we get the tests and
That's
ancient Egypt writing.
all right. So how about the Macy's Day Parade one, folks?
That one's a percent.
Okay, good. And again, these are the sorts of things I would hope you guys are going to start trying to do when you start taking the test. As you do a problem, sort of find that spot that tells you what kind of a percentage problem is this, right? So, all right, what did I give you this time? Old. Why is it old, folks?
Last year.
Yeah, okay, good. The rate's 9%. What are you going to do with 9%? Okay, thank you. Please don't tell me it's 0.9. Those ones hurt. And then technically new is x, and so therefore we've already got x by itself. So take 9% of 450,000 and add the 450,000. How many are going to be in the Macy's Parade this year?
490,000.
And technically, tell me these people, right? Don't put a dollar sign on it because that would be kind of silly. Now, if there were $490,500 floating around at the Macy's Day Parade and we all had to go looking for it, okay, but I doubt that that's happening. All right? All right, so play around with the next one for a second here. And again, don't let your gut do the math. So what kind of problem is this, folks? What did I give you?
Yeah.
New. Why is it new and not old? Hmm? Because it's now.
It's more than what you have.
It's more, right? Right? This is more than whatever Steve has. Sorry, Steve. And therefore, Steve has to be the older value because that's the lesser value, right? In a percentage increase problem, you start smaller and wind up larger, right? So if you have the larger number, that's the newer number, right? That sort of, you understand what a percentage increase is. You're starting smaller, winding up larger. If you've got the larger number, it has to be the new number no matter what. So in this case, old is x. And now you get one of those, we got to do a little work to solve it type things. What is x plus a half an x? Yeah, 1.5 x's. What do we do to get x by itself? How much does Steve have?
240.
And again, if you stop and think about it, what's half of 240? 120. What's 240 plus 120? The 360 you're trying to get to, right? If you let your gut do this problem, your gut's going to say, oh, 180, right? I mean, that's what your gut really wants to tell you. Just take half of 360 and you're done, right? Don't let your gut do you, okay? It's just not a good mathematician, your gut. So let your brain do it. All right. My shirt fell from $44 down to $19.99. What was the discount?
I was using that shortcut thing for this, is that right?
Sure. What's the shortcut thing?
Percent change equals the difference over the starting.
That's how you spell it. How are you going to calculate the difference?
Subtract
Yeah.
$19.99 from 44.
There you go. And where did I start?
44.
Please note, folks, that I'm still seeing it happen every now and then. People just want to divide the two numbers that they're given, right? Just divide the two prices and that'll give you the percentage. No, it doesn't work. You can do a massage to make it work, but again, I'm not even going to tell you how to do it necessarily. I would much rather have you remember that it's the difference divided by where you started. So what's 44 minus 19.99?
43.55.
What'd you get?
43.55.
4, 3, 5, 5. What's the number after the 5?
Oh, well, I did it's 43.545, so I rounded 43 point.
Oh, 4, 5, 5?
It's 0.54568.
43.54568.
If you divide 2401 divided by 44, it's 0.54568.
Is there, and that's rounded, right?
No.
No,
It
it's
was,
81,
if you round it, it's 54.57.
Oh, so it's 818181 after that? Okay. And then remember, when you get this is the rate. You have to convert it to a percent first. And then round to the 100th, right? So just be a little bit careful with those sorts of things, right? 54.57%, right? And what I hope you guys will do when you look at this sort of a problem is say, 54%, that's just a little bit more than half, right? Did the price of this item go down by a little bit more than half? Yeah, because what's half of 44? 22, and 20 is further than 22. You expect this to be a little bit more than 50%. And note, folks, if you just divide the two numbers, you're going to get a percentage that is less than 50%. And hopefully when you go to do a check, you'll be like, wait a second, I know this is more than half. And hopefully that'll jog your brain and say, oh yeah, I have to take the difference of the numbers in order to get my percentage. All right, so what happens if I flip the numbers? Instead of being a decrease, same numbers, but now make it an increase. The cool thing about that little quote-unquote shortcut for percentage change is that it works for all percentage changes, right? That's why it's a shortcut that I am relatively happy with. If you learn the techniques where you divide the two numbers themselves, there's a whole bunch of rules you have to follow, and they're not simple.
401 divided by 1999.
Yeah. So note the difference is still 2401, but now instead of dividing by the 44, now we're dividing by where we started at, which is the 1999.
So does it matter, like,
Does it
it's
matter?
like the time before we did 44, subtract 1999? So like,
You always subtract to get a positive number.
okay, that's
So-
what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, whether it's positive or negative, you just basically ignore the sign in that case.
Okay.
That's why when I say the difference, I'm not necessarily specifying a specific directional difference, just calculate a difference. Oh, does it really work out that nicely? Oh, that's the subtraction. So what do we get?
1.2011005505.
Correct. 1.20110055, blah, 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 blah. Again, remember that that's the decimal. What do we have to do to convert it to a percent? Move it over to the right 2. Then round it to the hundredths. So this will be 120 and 11 100% increase. And does that make sense, folks? 100%, if the price goes up by 100%, what did it do?
Double.
It doubled. This thing more than doubled. Is 44 more than double of 1999? Yeah, because 1999 is basically 20. Double 20, you get to 40. That makes sense, okay? So keep your eyes on those sorts of things to make determining whether or not your answer is correct easier. All right, how about the next one where I had to take a pay cut? Again, note. Yep. Since it's a pay cut, then it's new equals old minus rate times old. What did I give you this time? What for 72,000?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was making, so that's where I was. Now I need to figure out the new. Just be careful with the 8.2%. Make sure that it turns into 0.082. So again, this is sort of a moving forward problem, not too bad. And then subtract it. I'm down to $66,096 for my new salary.
I put 7,200 the first time it came out 1,000. And I was like, damn, that's more than 8.2%.
All right, so then the last one is the slightly tricky one, okay? I had to take a $3,500 pay cut. And you'll see why I like this problem in a moment. It was 1.4% of my salary. What was my old salary and my new salary? So note, folks, what kind of a problem is this technically? What follows the percent sign? Of. Yeah, this is a straight is over of type of a problem, technically. Now, why is it also not an is over of problem?
Because you also have to do the decrease.
Yeah, we have to do the decrease after we figure out where I was to figure out where I am now, right? So how do I figure out what 1.4% of my salary was?
We do 3,500 plus 1.4% to get the old amount.
This is a straight is over of problem. 3,500 is the is, right? It's the portion. It's the part of my salary that I had cut, right? The of I don't know, it's the x. And nicely enough, since I gave you the percent, you can put that 1.4 over 100, right? So the key to this problem is seeing that what follows the percent sign is still the word of, and saying, hey, wait, that's a regular is over of type of a question, but then it's got a tack on at the end of it, right? As soon as you do this calculation, you'll see why I like this problem. Folks, what was my old salary?
Whoa.
25 million.
250,000.
Yeah, not quite that rich. 250,000.
Where did I go wrong? Oh, I multiplied, I think.
Don't put too many zeros in there. So this is my old salary, folks, right? Because it was 1.4% of my old salary. I had to take a $3,500 pay cut. So what's my new salary?
It is minus the 1,000.
Yep.
That's because I moved something.
Don't move the decimal if you're using is over of, right?
246,000.
And now I'm so sad because I had to take that relatively large pay cut, and I'm only making $246,500 per year. Oh, bummer.
That sucks.
The hardships that some of us must go through, folks. Suck.
I have to get rid of that sports car.
Yeah, exactly. Or one of them.
Or one of the boats, or the vacation
I suppose,
house,
yeah.
or-
Well, I don't know which one I'll get rid of. I'll have to flip a coin and see.
Gold one.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, come on.
Antique collectors.
All right, so that was the Chapter 6 review. Any questions on any of that kind of review? Folks, those are all good sample questions that you might see on the test, okay? All right, now, before we move on to some of the other review, did you guys have any questions on the Chapter 8 homework? Can't remember if we went over the Chapter 8 homework or not. No, I did not think we did, yeah.
But I just had a number 30. It was
30?
It was kind of weird because, well, you had to figure out, you had to actually do 29 in order to do 30, which was fine.
Yeah.
But when, you know, so I figured out on 29 that you would need to make the $3.56 per cookie rather than 29 cents. In 30, it told you what if you got $1.10 for the 11 cracked cookies. So to get the new price, I still did how did I do it? I determined that if you did 10 cracked cookies at 110, it would be $11. So I did the 320 minus the 11, still divided by the 90 uncracked cookies. And so I wasn't sure if I had done that.
No, that's absolutely right. So how do you do a normal perishables good product, right? So let's do number 29, which basically says do this problem. Essentially, you need to do number 29 and you do number 30, right? So how much money did we need to collect? Remember that when you're doing a perishables good, the first thing you calculate is money. And remember that money is cost plus the profit. So what was the cost for making the cookies?
$2.
$2 a cookie?
Yeah.
How many cookies did we make?
I lost a piece
100?
of paper that I did that problem.
You can just read the problem.
Produces 100 cookies.
Okay, so we're spending $200 to make the cookies, right? Now what's our profit going to be? 60% markup on cost, right? So we need to take 60% of 200. How do you take 60% of 200?
Times it.
Multiply, just take 0.6 times 200. What do you get when you do that?
Is it?
120.
So we need $120 in profit. We spent $200, so how much money do we need total? There you go. There's your $320, right? So that's always the first step in your perishables problem, is figure out how much money do you need. Cost plus profit, okay? That's step one. Step two is, how many cookies are we selling?
100.
We have 100, but what are we going to lose? 10% loss, right? So we know that 10 of our cookies are going to break, or we're going to eat them, whatever. Because of course, technically, if you can't sell them for $1.10, you eat them. Come on. Even if you can sell them for $1.10, maybe you eat them. Whatever. Now you know how many cookies that you are making, not making, but selling, and then the price is just number 1 divided by number 2, right? Money divided by items to figure out how much each item needs to cost. And this is where the $3.56 comes in, right? 3.555555555555555 round accordingly. So no, this I'm not going to ask you this level of a problem on the test, folks. The problem I will ask you on the test would be this question right here, number 29. Okay, that would be the type of question that I ask. Okay, this question 30 is above and beyond the top, right? So the part of number 30 that you work with before, when you broke those 10 cookies, you threw them away and made $0 off of them, right? And so you need to make the entire $320 from just the cookies that were good. If you start selling the broken cookies, and you collect $11 from the broken cookies instead of $0 from the broken cookies, before we needed all $320 from the good cookies. Now, since I got 11 from the broken, how much do I need from the good? Not 320, but 11 less, right? So from those 90 good cookies, 309 divided by 90, that's what gets you what you're going to set the price of your now non-broken cookies to. 344?
That's
But what this points out, and the reason why I love doing this problem in class, right, is that this is why you want places like bakeries and grocery stores to sell day-old goods, right? Because if they don't sell those day-old goods, what are they going to do with them? Throw them out, which means how much money do they get from them? Nothing. So where do they have to get all of their money?
The good cookies.
From the good cookies, brownies, bread, salad, whatever it is that you're buying. And since they collect some money from these slightly broken things, the price of the newer stuff, 12 cents cheaper, right? So in order to keep the price of the actual, solid or good product, if they're selling the old stuff, it's actually keeping the price low. So you really want them to do that. And honestly, folks, when you go into places where they're selling day-old products, you should really buy them every now and then, right? because it encourages them to continue to do it, and it will keep their prices a little bit lower, right? I mean, it actually is very valid. And this problem basically just points it out to you and proves to you that it really will, right? I mean, this is how it works. And the math is not much deeper than this, except that the numbers are all infinitely bigger, right? So you don't sell cookies in batches of 100, you sell them in batches of 100,000. So multiply all these numbers by 100, and that's the kind of thing you're working with, right? All right, so good problem, but again, way outside the scope of the test, folks, okay? Number 29, yes. Number 30, no. Yes.
You want one?
What do we have?
Punchki?
Oh, of course I do.
Yay!
Thanks.
Thanks.
Sorry. That's the joy of being a teacher who's been around a while. People that remember you stop by and say, "Oh, he always likes food." Hint, hint. Oh, whatever. So, anyways, there's number 30. Any others? 18?
34.
8. We'll do 18 and 34. Is that okay? Okay, we'll do 18 first because it's smaller. All right. So what did 18 say?
Oh, this is kind of like showing the points. So
Ah,
like
okay.
break-even point, fixed cost, contribution margin. Selling price per unit, variable cost per unit. And then, so it'd be fixed costs 90,000. Selling price per unit is $9, and then the variable cost per unit is $4.
Wants to know break even and
Yeah.
contribution margin. So this variable cost per unit, essentially think of that as the cost to produce the item. Okay. It's the variable cost used to make whatever it is that you're doing. So if it costs you $4 to make it and you sell it for $9, how much do you make per unit? That's contribution margin. So you're making $5 per item. So if you're doing that, how many items do you have to sell to make up your $90,000 fixed costs? Yeah. How do you calculate break even, folks?
The fixed cost divided by the CN.
Fixed cost divided by the contribution, right? So it's FC divided by CM. So you just take that 90,000, divide by the $5 that you're making off of each item. And again, remember, folks, that this is not money. The break-even point is not money. The dollar amount is right here at the fixed cost. The break-even dollar amount is $90,000. That's how much you need to make from selling items to break even. The 18,000 is just how many items that represents. Right? So once we sell 18,000 cookies or brownies or whatever the hell we're making for $4 and selling for $9, once we sell that many, then it's all straight take home. All right? So, yeah, just break even. Just have to remember this whole variable cost per unit or the average cost to make, there's lots of different names for that. So you gotta just realize that that's what it means in general. All right. So what was the other one that you guys wanted?
34%.
Wasn't the 34 the number?
Oh, I thought we were supposed to skip 34.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Free.
Free.
Everybody gets 14 and 34 for free on this homework problem, just so that you know. I told you to skip it, but I actually give it to you anyways.
Can we do 40 then?
Can we do 40? Sure. Alright. What does 40 say?
An Apple computer store sells computers for $1,258.60. Assuming the computers cost $10,788 per dozen.
Whoa, 10,000 what?
$788 per dozen.
Per dozen?
A, the dollar markup,
Markup.
B, percent markup on cost, and percent markup on selling price.
And then percent markup on selling. Okay, cool. So we're selling it for $12.58.60. Cost $10.788 for a dozen. So what are you going to do with those numbers first?
Divide them so you can see how much each one costs.
Good idea, right? So how much does one of those computers cost the computer store?
$899.
And they're going to sell them for $12.58.60. So how would you find the markup? Yeah. So don't forget the basic formula, right? Remember, what's the first equation no matter which side of the world you're on?
S equals C plus
S equals C plus
N.
N, right? The selling price is the cost plus the markup, right? So you know that $12.58.60 equals $8.99 plus M. And so what did you guys figure out the markup to be?
$359.
So the markup on all of our computers is $359.60, right? That's the take-home profit for the computer store. Probably not too far from the truth, if you would guess. Now, how do we figure out what that markup is as a percentage of cost? So we're on the markup on cost side of the world. What are the equations you work with?
I use number 3, but I don't know if you, like S equals C parentheses 1 plus rate.
You could do that one, but you could also
Did I
use
make it harder?
Yeah, you did probably make it a little bit harder. You could use number 2. That tends to be the easier one.
I don't know why this one, the 3 always makes sense, and 2 I go, what? I don't know why.
The cool part about it is that any of the last 3 will actually work,
Okay.
technically, right? I mean, some of them are weirder than the others.
But you'll get the same answer.
Yeah, exactly, right? So in this case, when you're working on it, you can say that the markup equals the rate times the cost. When you're marking up on cost, that's the formula, because your markup is based as a percentage of your cost, right? And now you can just put the numbers in there, right? 359.60 equals rate times the 899.
Oh, that would make sense easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't have to do any distributed property, blah, 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 blah. Right? It's a little bit easier this way. My opinion, of course. So to get rate by itself, yeah, just divide by the 899. And so what's 359.60 divided by 899? 0.4. Remember, that's a rate. What is that as a percent? There you go. So more than likely, this computer store marks it up 40% on cost. That's not too uncommon for a computer store. Somewhere between 30 and 75% is standard electronics markup to some degree, unless it's a smaller electronics item. But now, what if we did this the other way, right? What if they said, oh, what we really do is mark up on price. What's the difference when you mark up on price?
That's a different formula.
Yeah, what do we mark up? We're marking up as a percentage of the price, not a percentage of the cost. The cool part about it is that you know what you're selling it for, so you have those numbers, right? It's not like you can't figure them out, right? You've got the 359.60 equals rate times 12.58.9. What was it? What was the selling price again?
1258.60.
12.58.60. Yeah, there you go. And what do you do to get rate by itself? The same thing you did before, just one straight division, right? Give me a bunch of decimal points.
0.31749.
That's good enough. Three.
Oh, no, I did it wrong.
Let's do it backwards. So it was more like 0.2 something. I got 0.285714286. Okay, cool. And again, that's the rate, so you need to convert it into a percent. 0.857% if you're marking it up by price. And those questions I asked you to skip, 14 and 34, they basically have, there's a formula that allows you to, when you have one of these percentages, how to get to the other percentage without having to do the actual long calculations. That's kind of why they gave you those sorts of problems, so you could do that. But like I said, I don't care about those, so don't worry about it. In other words, don't write those stupid formulas for questions 14 and 34 on your note card. You're just wasting space. All right? But this is, the nice part about this particular problem is it shows you that you can calculate both of these once you have the selling price, the cost, and the markup, right? It's just a division. That's all there is to it. All righty? All right. So, if you are happy with your Chapter 8 homeworks, folks, I would love to have them. You are more than welcome to turn them in on Monday. That's fine, too. You just gave me that one, right? You already got yours read in case you're giving that to me, right? Yeah. All right, so.
I used to go by Danny in high school, but then or when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I used to be a tomboy, and I like matured late, so I used to be called Danny in middle school and high school, but it wasn't like Danny like D-A-N-I, it was like D-A-N-N-Y, like the guy version.
The guy version.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I was like a boy. As far as my mom had like chopped my hair, like when I was younger.
All right, so folks, I also have some reviews for Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. Basically, what I was going to do here the rest of class was go as far through these as we could go, and then we'll call it a week, and we can go from there. So, boop. Which one would you rather do, Chapter 7 or Chapter 8? 7? Yeah, we kind of already reviewed Chapter 8 to some degree, so grab the one about the t-shirt shop. That's what I consider to be the first page to some degree. And note, this is my kind of a question, folks, because notice how many parts there are to this question. That is not uncommon for me. That's why when students ask, how many questions on the test, I can generally say, oh yeah, 4 or 5. Because each one will have 6 to 8 parts. So just because it's one question doesn't mean it's really just one question. So bear with me to some degree. All right, so here's my retail business, right? I'm running a t-shirt retail shop, and and I'm buying 2,500 t-shirts at an MSRP of $5.99. Again, that's what I'm selling them for, folks, right? The t-shirt shop or the t-shirt manufacturer said, sell these t-shirts for $6 a pop. They're giving me a 30/12/6 discount. They gave me terms 3/10, 1/20, N/90, ROG. Folks, what does ROG represent again?
See what it
Receipt of goods. In other words, what are our dates all calculated from?
is.
When you receive it, not from the invoice. Please keep those straight, all right? So then I give you the invoice date and the date I received them, and then also that I paid $2,000 on this bill on 2 separate dates, and I want to know how much do I pay to finish it off on this last date. All right, and note all of the different questions I can ask. I will probably not do this much on the test. They'll probably be only like 4 or 5 of those instead of all 8. But realize in theory, I could ask any and all of those. But it will normally just be a subset. All right. So, here we go. What's my list price? How do you get list?
2,500 times 5.99.
All right. Figure out 2,500 times $5.99.
$14,975.
$14,975. Technically, what does that represent to my business? My retail t-shirt shop business. Income, yeah, revenue, if you will. It's the amount of money I will get from selling the 2,500 t-shirts, right? Net price equivalent rate. Please remember the 2 rates. How do I get the net price equivalent rate? Compliment. Tell it that it looks nice, right? No, what am I going to do to get the compliments? Where are my compliments up here?
30, 12, and 6.
So what are the compliments of those?
70.
90.
Again, I strongly encourage first steps on this problem after you read it. Go back up and just write the compliments above the chain just to be safe, right? So, what do I do with those numbers? Yep. 0.70 times 0.88 times 0.94 or 6? 4. And where do I round this off at?
Nowhere.
Nowhere, right? Never, ever, ever, ever round the rates. Round money. Do not round rates, okay? If you get 6 digits, use all 6. If you get 8 digits, use all 8, okay? I know it's a pain in the ass, but deal with it, right? That's life. It represents money to your business, and you're not going to piss money away, okay? Now, what do I do with that number?
Minus it from the 1, right?
To get what? The single equivalent discount rate is 1 minus that, okay? So it's not a bad plan once you get the net price equivalent rate to immediately go down to single equivalent discount rate and say, hey, 1 minus 0.57904 gives me 0.42096. So playing around with the rates, folks, I'm totally okay with you, making sure you get all of those correct at the beginning, right? And note, there's a good chance on the test that I will only give you or ask for one of the 2 rates. Please be able to tell the difference between them. All right, now, how do I get the net price?
2,975 times the 0.57904.
Yeah, Folks, this is why they call it the net price equivalent rate, right? Because you take the rate and multiply it by the list price to give you the net price. That's the whole point, okay?
$8,671.124.
867. All I could think what you said that was 309.
8671.12.
All right, so Jenny, what's the discount amount? How are you gonna get the discount amount, folks?
The list price minus the net price.
List minus net. Take the easiest step. That's perfectly okay, right?
$6,303.88.
Sorry, what was that number again?
$6,303.88.
What does this number represent to my business?
The discount amount. Oh, so it'd be basically a loss, wouldn't it? That's
I'm the
amount
retail business. No. What was that? Profit. Why is it the profit?
that-
Steve?
Are you taking the net price out of the original, or the 14,000,
Uh-huh.
which is your,
Revenue.
and your list?
Uh-huh. And you're taking back the net price. The net price is what you actually pay to get it, right? In theory, you're going to give them $8,671.12. So the $6303.88 is always for your retail business, the profit. Okay? It's the discount from the manufacturer, so it's the manufacturer's loss, not yours, right? Because you're the retail business owner. All right? All right, so now we got through for sort of the first stage. Now we have to start dealing with our payments. I make a $2,000 payment on 8/8. First off, folks, which of those two dates am I using? Invoice or receive? Receive. So what should I do with the invoice date? Yeah, good idea. Right? So on 8/8, folks, what kind of a discount am I getting? How do I deal with a 3% discount on a $2,000 partial payment? What do we do with partial payments? You divide by the complement of your discount to see how much the payment is really worth. Remember, when you're getting a 3% discount on a payment, if it's a 3% discount, every 97 cents equals $1, right? And so to translate this money into 97-cent piles, so how much is my $2,000 payment really worth?
$2,000.97.
You hit plus.
No, yeah.
Hit divide instead of plus.
61.85.
8.5. So technically that $2,000 is credited as $2,061.85. So what do I do with that $2,061.85 though?
Minus it from the...
Subtract it from my invoice. How much is my invoice number that I'm subtracting it from though?
87,671.
Yeah. Note where you go to get how much you have owed. That's the net price. Please don't forget that the net price is what you are paying to get it. So once you give them $2,000, whenever you're credited, subtract from the $8671.12, right? Whatever that works out to be. So 7, 10, 2, 10, 9, 6, 0, 6, 6609.27 is how much we owe afterwards. All right. Well, now 10 days later, I pay another $2,000, right? On the 18th, what kind of a discount am I getting? 1%, right? The 3% window has closed. No more 3% discount. Now it's just a 1%. So what am I going to do with the $2,000 this time? Yeah, so now divide by 0.99. Alright? Twenty. Wild 20s. What do I do with that 20?
Like it's from 6,000.
6609.
Exactly, right? So keep reducing the amount that you owe, right? So you're 6609.27 minus 20. Getting there, folks, almost. 0.79854. So we're down to owing 45.89 and 7 pennies. Almost home. What's my last payment?
2,082. Whoops, no, sorry.
822, folks. On the 22nd of August.
We didn't know where
Here.
notice go.
The last day is always inclusive, folks. What's 20 days after the second?
22nd.
22nd. When am I making my payment?
22nd.
Discount still holds, okay? The window doesn't close until that day is passed, all right? So technically, we still are getting a 1% discount on the 22nd. Okay?
It was the 25th right after.
Well, no, this is straight because it's 20 days after the receive date. All right? So the ROG says just count from the delivery date. The delivery date was the 2nd. 20 days after the 2nd is the 22nd. That's our last day to get 1%.
Since it's the last payment, we'll need to times it.
And note, folks, when you're paying in full, this is the full amount that you want to pay. Now you go back to multiplying by the complement, right? So again, partial payments, divide by the complement, full payment, multiply by the complement. All right?
Oh,
Yeah. Because this is our last payment. We're paying it off on this one, and we're still getting that 1% discount. So what do we wind up at? 4543 18. So we're down to paying $4,543.18 on our last payment. Yes.
so the discount amount you would find by taking the list price minus the net price.
Yep. Or you can take the list price times the discount rate.
Okay, and so just so I'm having a hard time just like verbalizing what the discount amount is. That's what we're getting off.
That's what we're getting off of the list price to get our net price, to essentially to buy the product. And remember that the list price is technically what we're selling the stuff for. Okay? So it's weird because technically we're buying it for the same price that we're selling it for, which sounds like it's not a good deal, but you will always get some kind of a discount, and the discount is always going to be the profit margin.
Okay.
So that's why you have to, you can think of the discount as being, it's a discount for us, not against us. Okay? And that's why it's technically profit.
Could you give your statistics class a message?
Yeah?
They may not get help from me.
For the final? Or for the midterm?
Right.
Yes, uh-huh.
you specifically say that because there were a couple students who said, well, we'll be here Wednesday after class.
No.
I didn't proceed,
Yeah, I haven't given him the test yet, so don't worry.
yeah, well, I know it's going to be Jay.
Yep. I will let him know.
Thank you.
No, and thank you. Don't give away answers to that, please.
Oh, well, absolutely not.
Yes, I know.
But I just didn't want to be the one to,
To have to let him know.
yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks, Maida.
They go in with the test and expect the answers from it?
Well, yeah, because I give a take-home test in my stats class. So what they often do is to take it to the lab and say, oh, well, help us do this problem. And the lab person doesn't know that it's the test technically, but Maida's the only one who helps with statistics, so I just basically tell her, here's the test questions. If they ask you any of these, just tell them, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that one.
I don't know.
All right, so folks, this is a good sample problem for Chapter 7, and note that this problem basically did everything we did in Chapter 7. The only thing it didn't do were the other types of terms, right? It didn't do standard terms or EOM terms. Otherwise, that's everything in Chapter 7, right? List price, net price equivalent rate, single equivalent discount rate, discounts amounts, partial payments, full payments. We did it all, folks. Great question. All right, so how about the toaster problem? The EOM problem. And note, technically, folks, there shouldn't be a net thing on the EOM. It should just say 210 EOM. Now, again, folks, what does 2/10 EOM mean? 2%, but well, what does the 10 mean? 10 days after the end of the month of the invoice. Okay? So remember that really what you're doing with EOM is it's not you're saying you owe it by the end of the month. It's just saying that the discount window starts at the end of the month, and then you get 10 days after that. Okay? So, what I want to do right off the bat here, folks, is our invoice date is May 27th. What's the last day that we can get a 2% discount? Now, this is where it's a little bit tricky, because what's the date?
Oh, we get an extra month.
6/10.
Yeah, this one's after the 25th. Since it's after the 25th, Steve, this is where you do...
7/10.
Yeah, So instead of being 10 days after the end of May and going to June 10th, you get an entire extra month until July 10th. Okay? Yes. Walmart's not going to miss its 2% discount, folks. No chance in hell. That family knows how to make money, or keep money, I think is the right word. All right, so note I cut down the size on this so that we're not beating ourselves too much to death. What's the list price on this invoice? Yeah.
4,995.
Note, this time I didn't ask for the rate specifically.
But you're still gonna need it.
You're still going to need them, right? So what are you going to do with that discount chain? Okay, so what am I going to do? Going to tell them that they look nice? 70?
Yeah.
And so note, technically, folks, you don't have to calculate the rate first. You can just multiply all the numbers across, right? You can just go ahead and say, hey, take $49.95 and just multiply by every single one of the discounts. 0.70, times 0.88 times 0.95 times 0.98, right? If you want to go through the net price equivalent rate first, it's okay. Again, just don't throw any digits away. So what do we wind up getting for a net price? All right, so in theory, we owe them $2,864.61. We pay them $1,500 on July 9th.
So they are getting.
They are getting a discount, right? So note you're getting a discount on the payment of $1,500, a partial payment. So what am I going to do with that partial payment?
Divide by 0.98.
There you go.
$1,530.61.
What do I do with my 1530.61?
Minus it from one.
Minus it from what? The net price.
No, that's up with that.
Okay, isn't that nice? It's always nice when the pennies go away. 1334. And so how much do I pay on July 20th? Yeah.
Full amount.
The full amount, because what happened to the discount window? It's gone, right? It closed on the 10th, therefore we're done. So whenever we pay this off, we got to pay the full $13.34. Okay. Once all those discount windows close, there's nothing you can do. You just got to pay in full. And hopefully you don't pay late and have to deal with penalties and fees and fingers getting cut off and all those other sorts of things. Well, I don't know what kind of business you're in, so you know. The scary thing is that the last guy who did an analysis of the drug cartels, they actually do this kind of stuff. They actually treat it like a retail business. And so the manufacturers will actually say, we'll give you a 40% trade discount, you know. But if they don't pay on time,
Yeah, because they have incentive to do that, don't they?
yeah, there's slightly different rules for them. You know, fees and penalties for lawyers, not so much for guns and knives, right? So, details, right? All right. Anyways, all right. So how about this? I like this question. Okay, it's a fun question. Again, it's a question that I would not ask on the test. It's a little bit beyond what I would ask on the test, but it is a good question. Okay. The reason it's a good question is that what started to happen in the retail business is that manufacturers have discovered that retail businesses are generally lazy. Most people that run them just wanted to make money and they don't have to think about it. And so what happens is that lots of retailers will call the manufacturer whenever there's any kind of a problem and get clarification on things. And what manufacturers have started to do is saying, well, you know, from now on, in order for you to call and get help, you have to pay. Every call for a question goes to a call center and you're dinged like $2 to $4 per call. Again, it's just because the manufacturers were having to hire enough phone staff to be able to answer phone calls all the time, right?
Isn't that part of having a business, though?
They don't want it to be. The manufacturers don't want it anymore. So they're
Maybe
like,
the customers wanna call in if they have questions.
and they're like perfectly happy to answer questions, but now it's going to cost you, right? So instead, folks, if you had this kind of an invoice where you paid a certain amount of money for some pens, but the invoice got wet or destroyed or there's something wrong with it such that you couldn't figure out what the MSRP was, so you don't know what to actually sell the pens for, right? How can you work backwards to figure out what the MSRP per pen was?
You should just divide the 2125 and the 600. That'd get you per pen.
But without
But
the discount.
this is how
That's
much you
before-
paid. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
with the discount. Remember that the MSRP is the list price divided by the 600. You don't have the list price. You have the net price. Oh, bummer. So you guys know that the net equals 2125, and you're trying to find the list price because that's what you divide by 600 to get the price of each pen. Well, son of a biscuit.
Yeah.
How do you go backwards?
We need to figure out what the trade discount is.
Yeah, I mean, or at least you're on the right track. But technically, we don't. I mean, if we could find the trade discount amount, what it was, we could just add it and get it to the list price.
Oh.
True. But how else can you find the net price? I mean, normally, what do you do?
List minus trade amount.
That's one way. Or list times.
Trade discount rate. Wait, no. The single, the net discount.
Price
rate.
equivalent rate.
The
Yes.
single one.
No, that's the single one is what you get for discount. This is the net price equivalent rate, right?
Okay.
So remember that net equals list times the net price equivalent rate. So if we knew what the net price equivalent rate was, we could divide, right? Well, can we figure out what that net price equivalent rate is? Yeah, okay, how do you do it, Jamie? Uh-huh, 80, 90, 96. So remember, we know how to calculate the net price equivalent rate, right? .8 times 0.9 times 0.96. 0.6912, right? So now at least we have a formula we can work with, right? We could say, hey, I know that 2125 equals list times 0.6912. What can I do to get the list price by itself? Divide by the 0.6912. So what's 2125 divided by 0.6912?
$3074.36.
So that was technically the list price of those 600 pens. Now I wanted to get the actual MSRP per pen. Divide that thing by 600. And what are we going to sell these pens for technically?
$5.12.
12 cents? Nice. And so here's a way that you can go back through your problem, as long as you know how to do it, to not have to call them and get dinged for a $2 to $4 question, or again, whatever, 1-900 call.
900. Customer service are you calling?
Again, I don't know how they set up the customer service so they can make you pay for it, right? I'm not sure how they're doing that. I assume it's a single rate per call, but it could be like, calling the 1-900 buy a friend thing, so. Yeah, I don't know that one. Regardless, though, you can do it, right? All right, so one last one from chapter 7 here. So we've done an ROG, we've done an EOM. What kind of terms here? Standard terms, right? As long as there's no letters here, then it's standard terms. Everything's driven off the invoice date. So technically, when you're reading the problem down here, you see when the goods were received. What are you going to do with that date? Cross it out so you don't accidentally use it, right? Again, remember, the only time you use the received goods date is when it wrongs, right? When you turn into a pirate, that's when you do it. Note that I threw some shipping in at you here, folks. When do you deal with the shipping? At the very end, after every discount, no matter what the discount is. So, what am I going to do first? Technically, all I want to know is how much I paid on May 14th. But what might you do first? Find the list price. Great idea. Again, technically you don't have to, but it's never a bad idea. So what's the list for this order?
500 times 5.55 is 2,775.
27.75. Okay. What am I going to do with that list price? Use it to figure out the net. Good idea. How should I do that?
Multiply it by the reciprocal of this change.
Okay, so what are my reciprocals or my complements?
90, 91, and 92.
90, 91, 92. This is me getting lazy, folks. Instead of coming up with numbers, I was like 10, 9, 8. There you go. Very mathy of me. I doubt discounts would ever be that ordered. So 27.75 times 0.9, 0.91, 0.92.
2090.91.
20, 90, 91. Now my terms are 210 and 90. And I'm paying the invoice on May 14th.
So within 10 days of the invoice date, right?
Yeah. Am I getting my 2% discount? No. Right? It is 10 days from when I received the goods, but does that matter? No. So this is an oops. Someone's probably going to get, dinged for not paying on time. So technically, how much do I owe? Don't forget the entire problem.
Oh,
Plus
minus
we
2.
should-
Don't forget to pay the shipping at the end as well. That's the sort of thing that will ding you a little bit. So just, again, it's one of those where it's just don't forget and you should be okay. Alright? Alright, so. Any questions about Chapter 7? Any of those weird terms or anything like that? No? Alright, well, we're kind of out of time, so we don't have enough time to go through the Chapter 8 stuff. Again, we've had a little bit of review of that today, so hopefully that was enough. Again, folks, if you would like to take the test early, Monroe people, you need to schedule with Stacy Schmidt over there. If you want to take it early, you guys over here just have to tell me. Okay. Just shoot me an email, please, if you want it early, because then I will have record and I will look and find and deliver. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday to take the test, okay? 12.
really well.
That's very limiting.
So I'll be about like 120, but I
Making a mess.
Top line, bottom section.
Ah, okay.
Gone are we?
Oh, I see.
Yep, down there. Yep.
You are welcome. Always happy to keep you coming back. I will just tell you that pain and suffering builds character. Yes?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So my job scheduled me to work till 1 on Monday just because I didn't think I had classes and I was free break.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take my test on Monday, but do you want me to come in here and take it? Or do you want 20 minutes late? Or do you want me to take it out with you?
Either way, it's perfectly fine with me. So, I would probably ask you to schedule Stacy just to be safe, because I wouldn't want to, if you wind up needing more time, I do have a class at 3:00. So at 3:00, I would say you're done. And if you maybe need maybe 5 or 10 minutes more after that, or if you think you might, then if you have Stacy scheduled, you can get it.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to see what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm totally flexible though. I mean, I have no problem if you come in 10 or 20 minutes late to just start and hopefully you get done. Yeah.
Okay.
So either way is fine with me.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And thanks for letting me know. Oh. Knock on wood. Because I haven't gotten sick yet.
What got worse, insurance made me change my inhaler for my asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And it was meant for COPD and not asthma, so I had 2 asthma attacks the other night when I took it.
Hello?
Yeah. Where the hell am I going?
Oh.